was a compromise many of us were not happy about. I came to the floor myself with the senator from Vermont to ask that we double at least the size of those checks. A Republican senator objected. $600 was the most Republicans would support. Would the senator modify his request to include a unanimous consent request that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 9051, a bill received from the House to increase recovery rebate amounts to $2,000 per individual, that the bill be read a third time and passed, the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection to
Is there objection?
Object.
Oh, Mitch McConnell objects.
Is there objection to the original request? The senator from Vermont.
Thank you.
Oh, here we go. Here's Bernie Sanders. All right, so Mitch McConnell just objected to consider
To object.
the $2,000 House bill.
We
Turtle
should all
Boy.
be very, very clear. The working class of this country today faces more economic desperation than at any time since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And working families need help now. Not next year, but right now. Last night, the House of Representatives, with a two-thirds majority, 275 to 134, two-thirds bipartisan vote, moved to increase the direct payment going to working families from $600 per adult to $2,000 per adult. The House did the right thing. I congratulate them. And now it is time for the Senate to step up to the plate and do what the working families of this country overwhelmingly want us to do. Madam President, as a result of the pandemic, tens of millions of Americans have lost their jobs and their incomes. These families in the middle of the winter now face the threat of eviction and the possibility of being thrown out in the streets. Hunger in America is at the highest level that it has been for decades.
No, he won't even bring it for a vote because he's a scumbag.
Dads struggling to feed their kids and working families lining up mile after mile to get emergency food packages. We are even seeing an increase in grocery store shoplifting as desperate Americans try to keep their families from going hungry. All of this taking place in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Madam President, over the last number of years, as I think everybody in America knows, Congress has provided massive tax breaks for the very wealthiest people in our country, which is one of the reasons why today we have more income and wealth inequality than any time since the 1920s. In fact, in the midst of this pandemic, this terrible pandemic, inequality has grown worse, with many in the billionaire class seeing their wealth increase by hundreds of billions of dollars, while average Americans struggle to put food on the table. Congress has given huge tax breaks to large corporations so that some of the most profitable and largest corporations in America today pay zero in federal income taxes. We have just passed the largest military budget in the history of our country, $740 billion, more than the next 10 nations combined. And by the way, there was almost no debate about the size of that huge budget. Trump's veto dealt with other issues. Meanwhile, over 500,000 Americans are homeless. Half of our working families are struggling to survive paycheck to paycheck. And in the midst of this terrible, unprecedented pandemic, over 90 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured in the midst of a pandemic, and they're not sure whether they can afford to go to a doctor. Madam President, we are coming to the close of one of the most terrible and painful years in American history. That is a tragic fact. Over 330,000 of our people have died from COVID-19, and as we speak, we are seeing record-breaking numbers of new cases and hospitals around the country being overwhelmed with new admissions. During the last year, the education and well-being of tens of millions of our young people, from childcare to graduate school, has been disrupted. And the terrible emotional isolation that this pandemic has caused, where people are unable to spend time with their family or their friends, has resulted in a huge increase in mental illness, drug addiction, and even suicide. Madam President, as I mentioned, the House has done the right thing. By an overwhelming vote, Democrats and Republicans voted to increase that $600 direct payment to $2,000. Recent poll came out. 78% of the American people think that was the right decision. They're hurting. They want help. The leaders of our country, President Trump, President-elect Biden, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, are all in agreement. We have got to raise that direct payment to $2,000. So that is where we are right now in this historic moment. Do we turn our backs on struggling working families, or do we respond to their pain? So, Madam President, would the senator modify his request that immediately following the vote on the veto override, the Senate proceed to the consideration of H.R. 9051, that the bill be considered read a third time, and the Senate vote on passage of the bill without intervening action or debate. Further, that if passed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection to the request for modification?
Object.
Objection is heard. Is there objection to the original?
I object.
Senate Leader Mitch McConnell just saying moments ago that he objects to doing a straight up or down vote on the House Bill 905, which would give $2,000 stimulus checks, but he was non-committal about it. He did say that the Senate will work this week to bring, quote, into focus some of Trump's additional priorities, including checks, increased stimulus checks. And Mitch McConnell looked beaten down, because he knows that he has got some arm twisting to do among his Republican colleagues in order to pass additional larger stimulus checks. But he also knows that he could lose his seat as Senate Majority Leader if they don't pass it. Why? Because 2 Republicans are running for re-election in Georgia in that Senate runoff race, and they're begging him to bring this to a vote to the floor. They are begging him to bring this to the floor for a vote. So thank you for joining us on this breaking news. We will continue to watch what unfolds in the Senate today, but as Mitch McConnell said earlier, he's not going to do it. He objects to a vote on it today, so he's kicking the can down the street, maybe another 24 hours. We will have to wait and see. But a number of senators right now are in the Senate chambers arguing for them to bring this House vote, this $2,000 stimulus package, to a vote in the Senate floor. It doesn't appear that they're going to get anywhere with it today. So I will waste no more of your time. Thank you for tuning in to get this breaking news. Much love to all of you. Try to cover this for you to make sure that we're making sense of this crazy legislative session right now. Go ahead and smash that like button if you'd be so kind. That's all I ask of you. It's free. And go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We are live as much as we can, but every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for watching Morning Invest, the only progressive news show on the internet with an amazing community of people like yourself. Much love to all of you. We'll see you back here real soon, maybe even in an hour or two. Bye, everyone.